Okay. Imagine this. One day you're a tiny little freshman on the bus home from school. You're skipping through your Discovery Station on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever you use, and then you come across an awesome song. What do? Obviously, you blast it on repeat with no concern for your eardrums for the rest of the 40-minute drive like a totally sane and normal person. So, what song am I talking about? What song could be this good? Yep, that's the song, Last Dinosaur by the Pillows. And the second I stopped blasting on the bus, I looked it up and found out it's from some anime named Fooly Cooly. And at the time I was like, what the hell is that? So being me, I tried to watch it that night, and I low-key hated it. Like, I really didn't like it. It made zero sense, it was really weird, and I just couldn't figure out anything. So I turned it off and let Fooly Cooly fade into a memory. However, our story does not end there. One day, probably around 2 years later, I decided to pick it back up. Was this decision made through divine intervention? Maybe, probably. Because I finished it in one sitting and sat there like, wow, that was awesome. Still very lost, but that was awesome. Maybe it was the music, maybe it was the animation, maybe it was the story I sort of pieced together in my head, but I did really like it. It was pretty cool. But then I thought to myself, why? What is so cool about Fooly Cooly? That's a tough question actually, because most of the time Fooly Cooly really does not make sense. I mean, it makes some sense, but it's just so chaotic and fast-paced that you won't have time to stop and think about it. Now, this show is so extensive in topics, so I'm going to try and cover the adolescence part, which I think is the biggest takeaway from this anime, is that it's sort of an allegory for growing up, you know? And at its core, Fooly Cooly is about this young boy named Naota, alongside a cast of mostly degenerate weirdos, I'd like to say. And I will introduce some of the most important degenerates from this show. First up, we got Haruko, a literal alien who just randomly shows up in Naota's life wielding a pretty cool bass and riding a yellow Vespa. Vespa? Haruko is chaos embodied. She's a literal alien. She's a force of nature who is extremely strange. She's the adult intrusion into Naota's quiet little world, dragging him into a series of insane and weird and crazy events that make puberty for Naota probably feel like a sci-fi fever dream. Now, she's probably a metaphor for a lot of other things, like maturity and emotional upheaval. It really just depends on how hard you're willing to overthink, because there is so much to say about this show. Then there's Kanti, the robot that grows out of Naota's forehead the first time Haruko hits him. Yeah, hits him. you heard that right. A robot grows out of his forehead because Haruko hits him. See, I'm telling you, it's a weird show. This robot eats TVs, he does housework, and he might be a metaphor for God. But more importantly, Kanti is the physical embodiment of Naota's bottled up potential and emotional chaos. Like all those feelings you have growing up that you have no idea how to process, and suddenly, boom, robot. Yeah. Next up, we got Mamimi, Naota's brother's ex-girlfriend. She's kind of the third major whirlwind in his life. She's this mysterious, chain-smoking, school-skipping drifter who clings to Naota in a way that's uncomfortable, kinda sad, and definitely symbolic. She's dealing with her own trauma, loneliness, and fixation. She projects her pain onto Naota, calling him by his older brother's name, Takun, and dragging him into the complicated emotional mess she's stuck in. You watch her and you're like, oh, she's really weird, but there's probably a reason. And we learn that reason pretty soon, Naota's older brother left her, basically, to go play baseball in America. And she's dealing with the pain of losing him. Not in a healthy way, but in a way that's real. Then there's Naota himself, stuck between all these forces. He's frustratingly detached, too nonchalant to act his age, and constantly pretending not to care.
No brain. Did you lose it somewhere?
You're the one who did this.
Don't blame me if you go around losing things. Some kids are just freaks.
Look who's talking, Miss Normal.
At least I didn't sprout a robot out of my head like some people. By the way, there's something new there now.
Although I can't really blame him, because every older individual in his life is either insane like Haruko, totally detached like Mamimi, or a weird pervert like his dad or the eyebrow guy. I forgot the eyebrow guy's name, but he's up there somewhere.
You didn't know? Well, now you do. I don't like it spicy.
Those eyebrows.
So, where's it going to fall?
Naota's world is literally being blown apart by robots, sex jokes, weird adult behavior, and confusing feelings he can't begin to articulate. He's trying to grow up so fast that everything confuses him, physically, emotionally, existentially, and the show, it just lets it all be weird, because a young dude going through those feelings is always pretty weird, and that's what I like about the show. It's free. It doesn't feel like it's stuck to some corporate structure. It's definitely free. And you can tell the people who are making it were putting their soul into it in some way. Let me throw in a little personal anecdote to bridge this story from the screen to real life, to make it a little more understandable. Because even though Fooly Cooly is insane, there's something painfully relatable about Naota's whole deal. When I was around 12, my own version of a pink-haired alien rock star didn't come crashing into town on a Vespa. It came in the form of something way less exciting and way more depressing. COVID, I'm sure we all experienced that. Yeah, no cosmic guitars, no robots erupting out of my forehead to turn my whole world upside down. Just a global pandemic and way too much time spent grinding Fortnite with Zoom, Discord, and YouTube open on 100 different tabs, slowly dissolving my brain in the process. So while Naoto was getting decked by space weirdos and dealing with emotional overload, I was getting decked by the boredom, zero female interaction, and existential weirdness of lockdown. Still, emotionally, it wasn't that different, right? I mean, it really wasn't. Because here's the thing. I really do understand Naota's whole I'm chill, I'm mature, I'm unbothered act. That was me too. When the world feels too loud and too unpredictable and too weird, honestly, it's easy to retreat into an overly calm, almost detached version of yourself. A kind of fake maturity. It's not real wisdom, it's just a defense mechanism. Naota is not unbothered, he's just overwhelmed, and pretending not to care feels like the only way to get through it sometimes. He's not quiet because he's a stoic. He's quiet because everything in his life feels like it's spiraling into chaos, and this forced maturity is the only thing he can cling to. However, Fooly Cooly doesn't just make sense to kids going through epic anime puberty, or me going through less exciting puberty. It's for anyone who's ever felt that same disconnect between how you're supposed to act and what you're actually feeling inside. So yeah, that's kind of the plot. Kinda. There's a lot more to unpack. Robots, guitars, space police, some kind of intergalactic power called Atomisk, and a giant iron that might represent flattening individuality or just be a joke. I don't know, I genuinely never know with this show. But here's the real genius. None of it feels random, honestly. Even the most absurd visuals are grounded in emotional honesty. It might look like nonsense, but deep down it's all about growing up, dealing with your feelings, and learning to let go of the things you can't control. And at the very end, when Last Dinosaur by the Pillows finally plays, we see Naota finally trying to take control of his life once more.
It's the climax!
Care what happens to you. She doesn't care what happens to anyone. But you have family and friends who live here. And that high school girl, you want to save her, don't you? Of course you do. That's normal. You're thinking like an adult. Come over here. Don't let her manipulate you.
He takes on the power of Atomisk, which if you don't know is like some space god, and fights back against Haruko. And in doing so, kind of saves the whole world. And instead of striking down Haruko, to kind of gain control, he kisses her. I mean, maybe that's another allegory for puberty, but I think it's that plus trying to take control in some strange way. And that's why I think the ending hits so hard. The visuals explode, the music swells, Atomisk takes off into the sky to Naota's head, and he's just left standing there. He's still small, he's still awkward and confused, but he's a little different, He's a little more ready for the next stage of life. He's survived the chaos, learned a bit about desire, fear, and change, and maybe, just maybe, he's starting to understand what it means to grow up. The crazy robots, the eyebrows, Haruko's insanity, they're all externalized metaphors for the mess of adolescence. The weirdness is a stylistic flair that represents the way your emotions, your desires, and your fears can feel like they're bursting out of your head all at once. That's why Fooly Cooly can feel exhausting and confusing and exhilarating at the same time. It is puberty, compressed into 6 episodes of pure, unfiltered chaos. And no, we're not going to talk about the spin-offs or the remakes, those are not real. And in the end, it's about learning to live with the chaos, write it, and maybe even enjoy it a little. And that's what I think the genius of Fooly Cooly is. It's a story that refuses to explain itself in neat, logical ways, because adolescence is not neat or logical. It just happens, it's messy and loud with no instruction manual, and somehow, hopefully, you survive. There's so much more to talk about in Fooly Cooly, so if you haven't seen it, I sort of recommend it. Sorta, because it's definitely not for everyone. I know some people who would probably start tweaking out if they watched it. It's really cool, it's insane, and there's a lot more to unpack, but that's my kind of analysis of Naota's Adolescence. Thank you.